you help a lot of people run a sub 3 hour marathon, qualify for Boston. You help people, a lot of people PR their races. Do you think that anyone really can run a sub 3 hour marathon? And if you think so, or if you don't think so, why or why not?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's the $1 million question, because I think so many people put that limiting belief on themselves that, I'm at a 5 hour marathon. I'll never be able to shave off 2 hours and run sub 3. In my opinion, and in my experience, I think everybody can. I think it, as cliche as it sounds, I think it comes down to one thing, and it's just how bad do you want to do it, and therefore how much work are you willing to put in to get there. Like I had a guy, for example, when I first started working with him, he was at like a 4:30-ish marathon, and then in Chicago he ran like 3:19. Like that's an hour and 10 minutes. That's over 2 minutes per mile faster.
That's incredible.
And later this year we're going for and in just a couple months we're going for like sub 3:05. So like within essentially a year-ish, like he's taken off close to an hour and a half off his marathon time. Like, I mean, that's like 3 minutes a mile.
That's legit.
Which is pretty nuts. So again, I think it comes down to really just how bad do you want to do it, because as you can see from yesterday's workout, like those are not easy workouts. Like obviously you have to build up the fitness to be able to do those workouts, but then you have to be willing to show up and do the workouts. That's one of the most important things, I think. And about 2 to 3% of all marathon runners qualify for Boston or run a sub 3.
And what, 1% of the population has run a marathon or something?
Yeah, I think it's less than 1%.
So it's like 2 to 3% of the 1%.
Yeah. And again, it's not that only 2 to 3% of people are capable of running sub 3. I think it's just 2 to 3% of people either want to or are willing to do what it takes. And some people, like, you can get lucky. Like for me, I'll say, like, I ran 3:01 my first marathon, or 3 hours and 50 seconds, which is like, obviously,
that's crazy.
It's good. Like I'll say that's good. Especially with how terrible my training was.
Well, also too, you probably didn't take into effect, like, fitness is so cumulative that, you were an athlete all your life growing up. You played hockey, you did other things. So like when you started getting into that, I know you biked a lot too. Like that's one thing, is just because you don't run doesn't mean you can't be good at running, or that the other things that you're doing won't help you become a better runner.
Exactly. Yeah. It's, some people, it might take one try to run sub 3. Some people, it might take 10 tries or 10 years. But I truly think, and the cool thing too, is your VO2 max that's required to run sub 3 is roughly like 54. It's like low 50s. And the human average population, I think, is like around 40 VO2 max. And there is some genetics at play. Like some people, they genetically just cannot go higher. But that is probably such a small percentage of the population that they can't get their VO2 max up that high. But again, the average person also doesn't exercise every day or doesn't run frequently. Yeah. And they're still somewhere around 40. Yeah. So if you exercise, you do just a little bit of work. Like getting your VO2 max into the low 50s is not, I don't want to say it's not that hard, but it's doable for sure.
Couple quick questions about training. So say, I want to run a sub 3 and I don't run that much, maybe a couple miles a week, 10 miles a week. How long do you typically advise people to spend training for a marathon? If I just want to, do pretty good, but, it's not like I want to run sub 3, like I just, want to get a marathon done.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to just complete a marathon, you could probably go do it without any training. But if you want to do it and not have it be a complete sufferfest, I think minimum 3 months. Yeah. Like if you've never ran in your life, probably 4 to 5 months. But if you like do some running occasionally, you like do maybe some other kind of fitness stuff, I'd say like 4 months on average is more than enough time to get ready to go complete it and not completely die. Yeah. And have it just suck the whole time.
Yeah. Say I run, maybe 2 miles, 3 miles, 2 to 3 times a week, and I'm coming to you and I'm like, hey, I want to run this marathon. How fast are you going to ramp people up in terms of mileage?
Yeah, it's a good question. I like to do, I don't have a name for it. I don't know what it would be called, but the 3+1 build up is where you do 3 weeks of roughly the same mileage. So say you start at 20 miles a week. So 20, 20, 20, 3 weeks in a row. And then you have a deload week. Say you go down to like 10 or 15 miles. And then you take 10% of that 20 mile week. So whatever, 10%, 2 miles. So then you go 22, 22, 22, deload to like 15-ish. And then take another 10% of that 22, whatever that is. Do that for 3 weeks, and you slowly just build up 10%. So you do everything in like a month block, basically. So 3 weeks of the same mileage, 1 week deload, then you bump up a little bit. And that just is very tedious, especially if you're starting with lower mileage.
Yeah.
But I think that's the safest way in terms of like reducing your risk of injury.
Yeah.
So like for you, like if somebody looked at your Strava right now, they would not follow that because we went from like 10 miles because you weren't running much up to like 20 to 30 to 40. This week you hit close to 50, I think. That's like very atypical just because like of your experience already. Like you just did 200-mile races. So obviously you can handle running 50 miles a week. But and even for you, like I doubt we get above 60 more than like a couple of weeks because the intensity is so high and you don't need to for a sub-3. Like obviously you got this big aerobic foundation. Now it's just spending more time with higher intensity stuff.
Yeah, because that's more important than just getting miles in. Yeah, at least for me.
And it's all about percentages too. Like because the intensity is so high with the speed workouts and like the long run workouts, like you can't do that much. But we still want to maintain that like rough 80-20 or 70-30 ratio of the intensity to like the high intensity stuff to the zone 2. So we want to probably average like probably like 1 to 3 hours a week of high intensity stuff. So you're still going to be running like 8 to 9 hours a week roughly, but with about 1 to 3 hours of those being high intensity.
That's a lot different than 15 to 20 hours a week.
Yeah. I mean, it's ultras and Ironmans and all that is like a full-time job, or at least a part-time job. Where a marathon is still time consuming, but like, I mean, it's roughly an hour a day.
Yeah.